Becky's sitting here and she wants to know what grinds my gears. So I'm going to tell everyone what grinds my fucking gears. Because right now, it's just kind of grinding my gears. Mars. Alright, disclaimer. The Earth is round. I got telescopes. I'm not arguing with fucking zealots on any side. I'm just pointing out facts. Facts that you guys just don't want to deal with. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to smoke this joint. And I'm going to point out some obvious shit. Some obvious shit like, you're not flying helicopters on Mars. It was one thing when Paris Hilton was the distraction. What do we got now? We got Billie Eilish. Seems like Billie Eilish's new tour is your guys' new quick distract, the masses with some stupid fucking bitches drama. We did it in the Bush years. Kind of finished it up in the Trump years. We're rolling into the Biden years with this new propaganda. There are no helicopters on Mars. And it's as simple as pointing it out by going, you cannot dock with another planet because you can't dock in low Earth orbit. Now, obviously, Bob and Doug just did. But it took NASA's $26 billion, all the funding that was going to the moon. She didn't go to the moon either. Apollo didn't. The last Apollo mission went 230 miles up, met with the Russians, docked with them. It took all the Apollo missions before that to learn how to do that. It's the hardest thing humanity has ever done. Low Earth orbit. Docking with another craft in low Earth orbit. You guys made a movie about it, Hidden Figures. You couldn't figure out how to maintain orbit. You couldn't figure out how to get there, then maintain it. You had to ask the almighty black woman for help because you stuck up white fucking bigots can't even get over your zealot nature enough to do something that simple. So this simple thing, obviously, I don't expect you to get it. I just hope that maybe you'll acknowledge it someday, or when there's nothing left for you to cling to, I could pull this up and be like, you had all the opportunity in the world to acknowledge your fucking surroundings. So, you just spent $26 billion thinking you were going to the moon, and you were able to dock with the Russians in low Earth orbit, like you did with the Apollo missions, with SpaceX. Now, they're right back to doing their propaganda, and obviously, they're going to the moon, sure, blah, blah, blah. They're going to try to make a new space station, because Orbital K exists. If you fucking had a brain, you'd learn why the International Space Station doesn't have much time left. Why the Mir, the only successful space station before that the Russians put up that we weren't allowed on, was shot down. Why Skylab fell the fuck down and was considered a orbital satellite, not a space station. You guys don't know how to do it. America's stupid. Oh, I know! I just said something factual. You're a zealot fucking Catholic, Christian, Mormon fucking nation of turtle-worshipping Jesus freaks. You're obsessed with the Bert the Turtle, radiation isn't real shit, so you make up grand stories about traveling to places you can't go to in order to distract because you don't want anyone to know how difficult what you're doing that's very simple. Low Earth orbit seems very simple because of what a grand fucking scale you made our solar system and are traveling it by telescope. So, we're not on Mars. It's as simple as pointing out we can't be because we can't even get to low Earth orbit. We would be driving around and doing shit on the moon. We're not. We can't. No one is. There's a reason why no one is, and that's as simple as science. Ready? Marco Durante, GSI, Cosmic Radiation Showstopper, presented by the European Space Agency. The people who are building our rovers, our telescopes, our moon landers. No, I get that they'll totally support our propaganda. You know how much money we gave them to build our propaganda for them, for us? Do you have any idea how much the new Blue Origin Moonlander capsules, all the prototypes, you know how much we just gave them? Of course they're going to be like, oh yes, America's going to the moon. They're going in this. They just gave us fuck tons of money to build it for them so that they could set it on fucking Stanley Kubrick's new website. You're not going anywhere. You can't. If you could, all other 5 space-bearing nations that are now more economically sound, technologically capable, and willing and interested are trying and have found the low Earth orbit. Everybody's at the lowest part of the thermosphere. Now, if you know anything about Marco Durante, the science as to why we stopped in the lower thermosphere, why the magnetosphere extends 25,000 miles out, but we stopped 250 miles out, why there's still huge bands and gaps and layers in between of the thermosphere all the way out the exosphere to the end of the bow shock where the magnetosphere is, why it is that all the smaller layers we can be in, why underneath us is okay. We'll play around in the mesosphere. We'll put all of our communication satellites, everything you see when you look up, a shooting star, oh, that's a satellite, it's in the fucking mesosphere. Everything you see above that doesn't exist. You can't fucking see it. It's outside of the magnetosphere. Except for the International Space Station, which they make a big fucking deal about you being able to see. There's websites, you can track every single moment of it. It's the only thing large enough in the thermosphere, because it's bigger than a satellite, it's not a spy sat, you can see it. There's nothing else above it, except for the Hubble, which you can't see because it's too small. Nothing actually exists above the International Space Station because, well, ionizing radiation. All the reasons we can't be outside of there. All the reasons why computers fail before our bodies decay. They don't know how to get anything above the International Space Station without major shielding, which they're working on so that they can arm each other and battle over communication rights. Who owns the new 5G? Who has the greatest technology? Russia's making satellites now that shoot down our satellites to control the majority of military hardware on the high ground. It has nothing to do with exploration. We're not on Mars. Neil Tyson, deGrasse Tyson, whatever the fuck his name is, has gone off so many times about it's not about exploring. It's about military stronghold. The space race wasn't about, gee, we just want to push out there and see. No, it was about fucking wars, about military stronghold of the highest ground. That's all it still is. They're not sending anyone in Virgin Galactic up there or anything. They're postponing all of it. Jeff isn't sending up anyone because you're not allowed to. They can't go any higher. We can't go where they are. The end. They're not on Mars. They're 230 miles to 250 miles up. They can't go higher because of ionizing radiation. They can't go lower because of orbital decay. Anything that is commutative, that's a microsatellite, and everything you're hearing about is in the mesosphere, well underneath that. We never shot anything out. A couple of things, the Voyagers, Parker Space Probe, all of these fucking, the Solar Orbiter, all these type of things, they're touching the exosphere. They're touching fields of radiation that the Orion mission in 2014 was sent out to touch. And yeah, well, it fried its fucking computers. And it would have ionized oxygen tanks and blown them up, crippling the spacecraft and causing 2 out of the 3 members to die of a cancer like Apollo 13 had happen if they would have done everything the same. But they sent it up with just the chips, little extra shielding, no oxygen tanks, no people. It failed. That was 2014. Then GSI did their shit. We've learned great fields of how to create lithium-ion shielding. We created new polymers. That's saved a lot of the, like, we can be what used to be just a couple of months at the International Space Station is now a year solid because of all the extra shielding. But that's still 230 miles up. We didn't go out further because of it. Do you have any idea what it takes to create the Earth's magnetosphere? Because we're saying it's an iron core, except there are several gas planets that prove that it's not an iron core because the magnetosphere is outside of the axis and the center point that would be the iron core. So unless Uranus and all of these gas planets that don't have magnetospheres like ours, but have magnetospheres greater than ours, don't have iron cores, well, that theory's out the window. We have no idea what makes it, and we have no idea how to make something as grand as it. And if you want to leave, you have to take it with you to protect your craft so it doesn't get shorted out, or so you don't decay. We're not out there. The end. So it's cute. Watch all your videos. It's in the Atacama Desert. It's R&D for the military. It did actually get launched. It didn't get launched years ago. It was that recent spy satellite that was just launched up a week and a half before. It orbited for a few weeks, like the Apollo missions, to stabilize its orbit, and then it pointed at us, shot it back down, landed in Africa, where we can't go, where it has similar environment to the Martian surface. Where there's very little oxygen, if any, no water. And your skies would look the same. And yeah, they did land it exactly as they did. No, they blended two videos together. So it getting there and all those craters and all of that, yeah, that's from telescope. You can argue whether or not our ability to look or not is capable of that, but your ability to argue that went out the window when they created the Keck telescope, and we have lasers to auto-correct any atmospheric distortion, so that's not an argument anymore. What they can do is that. So, that was a blending of that shot from a telescope and the actual thing landing here on Earth, because could you imagine the strategic capabilities of the military if we were able to shoot an ICBM that would drop 100 different rovers over a nation, and we could control it from our lands, fly helicopters off of those rovers? We just conquered the Middle East and we never even need to set foot there. And we don't have to worry about fucking air traffic. Everything having to do with that. It's galactic war, but on a planetary scale. Yeah, that's what we're training for it. We're trying for it. We never went to the moon. Just today, SpaceX finally perfected landing their rocket, and it didn't blow up and land an explosion, but it did land and then blew up. As Jeff Bezos says that all of his would as well, because we have never perfected the technology to land a rocket until 2015. And now we can't actually get it to fire up again if it was going to. The end. It's just, we can't. The technology still doesn't exist. Period. You're not on Mars. There's no helicopters flying around Mars. They launched it around us, back to us, and are playing with it here. Basic studies. Why are they in Hawaii, sitting in cubes for 8 months at a time? This is just, they're playing. Now they're playing in the Atacama Desert. They had a couple, it worked, they did it again, it's working. It's good science, it really is. And did you know that the Mars surface is identical to several parts of the Atacama Desert? And did you know that several parts of the middle thermosphere are exactly the same as the surface of the Atacama Desert and the Martian surface? Interesting places to go if you want to learn about very specific environments and quantities of radiation. Orion in 2014 launched to 3,600 miles, the middle of the thermosphere. Exactly where would you find the same amount of radiation as on the surface of Mars? Exactly as you'd find in certain parts of the Chilean mountains at the Atacama Desert. The end. That's it. Which brings me to turtles. I'm going to end this talking about what seems to be everybody's favorite subject. I like turtles. Mike Pence named the new moon landing team the Artemis Turtles. He named them after what he said was a post turtle. He said he saw them there and just didn't understand exactly how they got there. And so, I find that funny considering he's from the duck and cover age. He is from the age in which Bert the Turtle was created. He also happens to be an evangelical Christian who believes in the flat earth turtle flying through space that we're on the back of. I find all these things to be interesting coincidences. And I wonder, have you noticed that every single time the government says, listen to me, look at what I say, and believe me, they're using a fucking turtle. Why? Reptilian brain? Interesting. That's all. Curious. Enjoy that. Radiation doesn't exist. Duck and cover. Fly into the moon on the back of a turtle. You're not on Mars.